welcome back to another episode of I'm Your Biggest Fan with me, Jazmin L'Amy, in conjunction with the Noizze Podcast Network and Satanic Tea Company. Without further ado, here's my next guest. No Doubt are an iconic American rock band from Anaheim, California, and blend pop, ska, rock, and reggae to create the unique and instantly recognizable sound. Formed in 1986, they gained international success throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, with singles Just a Girl, Spiderwebs, and Don't Speak, before embarking on multiple hiatuses since then. If you've not heard of No Doubt, you've definitely heard of their frontwoman, Gwen Stefani, who has enjoyed so much more success after launching her solo career in the 2000s with singles Hollaback Girl, Rich Girl, and The Sweet Escape, and so many more. As well as being one of the most influential bands of the 90s, No Doubt have also had an immeasurable influence on Megan Targett, vocalist for UK alternative metal outfit Vexed. So I'm really looking forward to delving into No Doubt with you, because that was like not what I was expecting. I don't know if you know, do you know Will Marshall, who writes for Distorted Sound? Yeah. He's one of my housemates. So it's quite funny. Like every time I do this, he tries and guesses who people are going to talk about. And we had a conversation. He went for King 810.
Oh, okay.
Which I've only in the last few months just gotten into King 810 and I'm obsessed. But yeah. But no, I'm really excited about this. So firstly, thank you for chatting to me and delving into you. So yeah, obviously first question is, do you remember your first ever memory of hearing No Doubt for the first time?
I do, but it wasn't No Doubt, it was Gwen, just as herself.
Ah, okay, go on.
So she released her pop album Love Angel Music Baby when I was about 10 years old, and which is mad to think. And I remember going to like an HMV or something, and my mum was like, you can pick out some like albums to listen to. So I picked out The Darkness and Gwen Stefani. Just I don't know why. And I got home and I listened to it, and I had that album on repeat and repeat and repeat. I loved it so much when I was a kid. And then as I got older and I got into more heavy stuff, even though I liked like The Darkness, for example, I didn't know that she was in a band as well. I thought she was just a single artist. So when my mum was like, you do realize she's in a rock band, I was like, what? And
mind blown.
Yeah, exactly. So then at probably about 10 or 11, I started looking into No Doubt, and it just unlocked this whole world for me of women being badass in heavy music. And obviously there's thousands of us, but at that point in my life I was so little, I hadn't the means to kind of explore it. So when I actually took it upon myself to explore it, and she was my first like representation of it, it was just like, this is awesome. Yeah, blew me away.
Yeah. When you first went for that record in HMV, did you know who Gwen was before, or was it just one of those random look at the cover art and think, yeah, I'll get that?
I knew who she was because I'd loved her song TikTok, is that what it is? Can't remember. No, What You Waiting For? That's it. Yeah, I know, such a banger. So I loved that. So I was like, I want to find the lady that sings that song. And so I found it and got it. So yeah, I knew that who she was, and I went in there intentionally looking for it. But then just by complete chance, really, she happens to be far more important to me before she did all that, and I had no idea. So it was a really cool coincidence.
Yeah, of course. So at that time, compared to the other stuff you were listening to, besides the fact that she was your first female representation in heavy music, what else stood out about them compared to any other band you had heard up to that point?
For me, it was because there was almost like a slight tomboyish masculinity to her. but she's still so beautiful and girly at the same time. And growing up on a farm and being a real tomboy myself, like all my friends growing up, majority of them were boys. I would go out and play in the mud and play football, and like I would often get picked on because I didn't have a lot of girl friends, but I never thought of it as an issue. It was just who I was. And I liked shopping in the boys section at like clothes shops and things like that, because it was just what I was into. It didn't occur to me that I needed to be girly. So when I saw her and she was aggressive and just wearing Doc Martens and baggy jeans, but also had a crop top on and a face full of makeup, I was just like, oh, you can be both. You don't have to be one or the other. You can, go over both lines. And that's what stood out for me. I suddenly felt like I didn't have to choose to be girly or choose to be boyish. I could be whatever I wanted and it didn't matter. And it was really important for me growing up, because I really struggled with trying to be girly. And so she was a really sort of big impact on me in that way.
Yeah, no, I absolutely get that. My mum tried to bring me up as like a Disney princess. And I'm like, far from that now. And then my dad's like, no, here's Guns N' Roses, here's Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
No, I get that so much. And it wasn't until, I don't know who it was for me, because like when I got into Guns N' Roses and the music video for Welcome to the Jungle, I think it was the opposite way around. Like it was seeing Axl Rose like dress kind of like feminine, like the same but like the opposite, if that makes sense. But I get that.
That's really cool.
Going to your like childhood and growing up and stuff as well, music can be so powerful and used as a tool to heighten the happiness that is there in everyday life already, or it can be used to distract from the horrors in life, unfortunately, as well. You've spoken about previously and hinted at some of the dark aspects of your childhood and upbringing. So how did No Doubt offer that form of escapism for you?
I think for me it was whenever I put on Tragic Kingdom or like watched the DVD of Tragic Kingdom and I just saw Gwen just like being feral on the stage and charging around, it just gave me hope, in a sense that like something to aspire to be, something to like look forward to. It was almost like a dream. It was like, I can grow up and be like her one day. She's got loads of boy friends and she's wearing cool like tartan pants, and she's really aggressive and boyish, but she's still really pretty and wears makeup, and it was just like this escapism for me. It was like this, put it on and just see a girl succeeding instead of a girl cowering, and seeing a girl be brave and bigger than she could possibly imagine. And so for me it was almost like an escapism, just watching that Tragic Kingdom tour DVD and seeing that I didn't have to stay where I was, and that there are options for girls and women. And it was definitely like a fantasy or an escape sort of thing for me.
Yeah, of course. So it was more of like obviously like a musical escape as well, but more like a visual daydreaming kind of escape that it offered you.
Definitely. Yeah, it was like, one day I can do that. I can get out of here and I can do that.
Yeah. So speaking of which, you do have 2 studio full-length albums, Culling Culture and more recently Negative Energy, which are both absolute fucking amazing, by the way. How has your love of No Doubt influenced your own music writing? Because obviously on the surface, the sound and visuals of Vexed are completely far apart from what you see with No Doubt.
Yeah, very, very different. I think it's for me, it's been the fear of not being, sorry, say that again. It's been the getting rid of the fear of merging different genres together. I think a lot of the metal community are very, well, as we know, very gatekeepery and very I don't know, they just get very protective over genres and you should sound like this, blah, blah, blah. But if we all just kept to the same thing, we'd all be so like fucking boring. Like, so I think merging different genres into our music is something that No Doubt definitely influenced, because, you know, they bring in a lot of reggae artists, hip hop artists, R&B. And although we don't do that, we have brought in a lot of like sort of trap elements and rap elements, some grime elements to our music, subtly, but still they're still there. And so, you know, seeing that other bands can do that and do it well, I think No Doubt was definitely one for me that was like, yeah, they've merged it perfectly, and they've done it in a way that's made their own sound, instead of just sort of like, you know, putting a token saxophone in somewhere.
You should definitely have a saxophone on your next album.
I'm not calling it out.
I'm sure you can make it work. Just put enough distortion on it. So when you were younger and you like first started writing music, obviously before Vexed found their sound, maybe even like before Vexed was an idea, did you take any more obvious influences from No Doubt or Gwen Stefani in your early music writing?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, when my first few bands, I didn't do any screaming, it was all singing, and it was a lot lighter. So we definitely took more of the kind of like the rock meets punk kind of thing. And even like down to the clothes I wore, I would try and wear like, I'm going to wear a white tank top that's cropped and tartan trousers. There's got to be pictures of me wearing it on the internet somewhere, and it's just horrific, but like but cute at the same time, because like I was only a kid. But well, they definitely did, because I always wanted to cover Just a Girl, and I think we did cover that at some point when I was younger. But also there's like this weird vocal technique. I don't even know if you'd call it a technique, maybe like a characteristic. It's like when she sings, she has like this sheepish sounding like vibrato in her voice sometimes. Okay, yeah. Sounds like she's barring, and and I have it as well. So it's really weird. Sometimes when I hit certain notes, I sound like I'm doing an impression of a sheep. And and so
I'm going to be looking out for that now. I'm not going to be able to unhear it if I hear it anywhere.
And yeah, what somebody pointed it out to me, and they were like, "Oh, you sound like Gwen. Are you doing that deliberately?" And I was like, "No." So then I went and listened to it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, she does it too." So I definitely took advantage of that and was trying to do it all the time, absolutely horrifically and terribly. But yeah, they definitely had an influence in my sound when I was younger, and yeah, I tried to be as Gwen as I possibly could, until I realized that it's better to just be yourself. And also I was into much heavier things. But
yeah, so post No Doubt, what was like your next step musically when you got heavier?
So for me, it was Slipknot and Bring Me the Horizon. So it's like a big, yeah, it was like a big jump.
Yeah.
But that's what kind of got me into the new metal and metalcore, deathcore, whatever you want to call them, sort of sound. And then that's where I started kind of really delving into the heavier stuff. But my heart obviously has always been with my early loves, like No Doubt as well. But Bring Me the Horizon and Slipknot, that was when I was like, oh shit, I found something that I really connect to. So like Gwen and No Doubt for me were, I suppose they made me feel like I had someone to relate to, and that whole image and the whole sort of feminist side, it really helped me realize that it was okay to be myself. And then when it came to writing music and really wanting to go for it as a vocalist, Slipknot and Bring Me sort of brought that out of me.
Yeah, so I guess could you say that No Doubt made you feel seen, and Slipknot and Bring Me the Horizon, bands like that, made you feel heard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfectly said. Yeah.
So I've watched an interview you did recently about the negatives of press cycles that you had during Culling Culture, and the inspiration behind one of your new tracks, Anti-Fetish, being about the way you're treated as a woman in metal.
Yeah.
And it's obviously no secret that one of No Doubt's biggest songs, Just a Girl, is a huge feminist anthem as well. So it sucks that this outdated narrative not just transcends decades, but also transcends genres.
Yeah.
So I remember when I first had it as a teen, I used to do this thing back home called Rock School, and it is exactly what it sounds like.
That's so cute.
I think it was when I was like from 12 to 15, and you like get put in little bands, and you learn your little instruments, and then you learn songs together. And one of them was Just a Girl. I still can't play guitar, but at the time I was trying to play guitar, and I just played like the bottom string the whole time, and that's it. That's all I played, but that was my first introduction to then. And at the time, I just thought it was a fun, jaunty track. And now, obviously, growing older and learning so much more, and knowing that it means so much more now in terms of its lyrical content and the music video as well. The music video is perfect.
Incredible. Yeah.
How has your views on their music changed as you've grown older?
I suppose similar to you in that, like, it's become more relevant as I've gotten older. Like when I was younger, listening to Just a Girl, like it struck a chord with me because, like what I was saying earlier, I was sort of a proper tomboy growing up and stuff like that. But then when I got older and I was going to shows and was actually starting to try and have a career in music, the sort of relevance of it became huge. And like the fact that she was going through that in the 90s and we're still going through it now is just fucking insane. And that song I think probably hits harder now than it did back then, because I still get all the bullshit all the time, every day, comment sections or in interviews, just about the most boring, stupid questions, like what's it like being a woman in the industry, like, you know, and it's tiring, and it's just a battle that I think we're always going to have to face, or, you know, do what we want with it. But yeah, the track now I think resonates with me even more, and it was a great help when I was writing Anti-Fetish, because we actually really wanted, well, I wanted to call it Just a Girl Part 2, or like Just a Girl, or something like a play on that, because it was like a
you could call it More Than Just a Girl.
A
bit late now. You can use it for the next album cycle.
TM. Yeah, so, and I wanted to be able to, like, we were trying to work on having the original like guitar riff in a song somehow, like as like a weird backing thing, but we couldn't figure it out without it costing us millions or like getting copyright to do it. But that is where Anti-Fetish come from. It was definitely a big influence, because it was happening then, it's still happening now. I bet you get it as well all the time.
I get secondhand annoyance as well, like the interview I just mentioned there. Like, if someone says to you, what's it like being a woman in the music industry, or like, do you still get X, Y, and Z? It's like the fact you're asking that question in the first place is the problem in itself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, how do you not, as you're saying that, as you're asking that, even like doing the research bit before you even get to the interview, how does it not cross your mind that maybe you wouldn't have to ask that of a guy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's just still happening. And I think one of the worst ones for me was somebody, I think we were playing Bloodstock a few years ago, and somebody was like, "Are you excited to see?" And then they listed off all the other women-fronted bands that were playing there, and I was like, "No, why?" and it really shocked him because he was like, oh well, I just thought that, you know, that they're women as well, that you'd be excited to see them. And I was like, why? Like,
That's the best reaction and response to give them to them, though, because because it's true.
Yeah. Like, if I like a band, I like a band. It makes no difference to, like, you know, who's fronting it. Like when it comes to gender. So yeah, very weird. It is weird.
It's so odd. You just mentioned there that you were trying to incorporate Just a Girl into Anti-Fetish. How do the rest of your bandmates help and support you in that being a part of your musical history?
They're amazing, actually. They know that my music, well, we've all got like huge ranges of taste in music, but they know mine is probably the weirdest. Like I'll put on Aqua sometimes, or like,
oh, hell yeah.
I don't know, yeah like some really like cheesy shit, and they're great. They just put up with it. But when it comes to the writing, they're really open-minded, actually. Like we try and push ourselves every time and try more experimental things. And if it sounds crap or they're not happy with it, we're really honest with each other when it comes to writing. And if they're not happy with it, then we won't do it. And like when we were exploring kind of having a Just a Girl loop in the background, it just wasn't working and they weren't happy with it. And we were like, okay, cool, like we'll scrap it and we're going to do our own thing. So yeah, they're great. And they're probably like the biggest feminist advocates, probably even more so than me, because I think I've become, and perhaps you're the same, a bit numb to it. Like you get shit thrown at you so much that it just doesn't hit you the same anymore. Whereas when they see stuff, you know, they go off and it's quite funny. But I love them for it. So yeah, they're great in that sense.
Yeah, I was at a gig last year probably with my ex, and some guy tried to like squeeze past me and put his hand on like my bare waist. And I just kind of like shook it off. The band was playing. It was a band I wanted to see for ages. So I was just like, it's fine. He's walked off now. Yeah. But my ex at the time got so mad about it and like he wanted to confront him. And I'm like, no, it's fine. Time and a place. I just want to enjoy this band. Forget about it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
So I get what you mean. It's like we tend to kind of like pick our battles now.
Yeah.
And there's like some things you'll let slide because you're just like, it's not worth my emotional energy.
No, exactly. Like I had a guy comment on something recently and he was like, I think it was on a song, and he was like, so is the vocalist fit or not? And it really made me laugh because he liked the song, but he was like, but is the vocalist fit or not? And obviously, like, it was really pissing off the boys because they were like, well, why the fuck does it matter what she looks like? Blah, blah, blah. But it was really making me laugh because I was just like in my bed, like no makeup on, like, and I was just sending the boys like chin faces of me being like, yes, she's 10 out of 10. But again, like you were saying, pick your battles. What is the fucking point in me like replying to that, trying to like show how problematic his comment is and stuff like, because like sometimes people just don't want to listen, they don't care. Like that's clearly somebody who's ignorant and doesn't give a fuck. So yeah, also, you do.
That question is so subjective.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I might be 0 to some and 10 to others, like, and it depends on what day you catch me. So like and it doesn't matter. So yeah, it's mental. But yeah, some of the stuff does make me laugh now. Whereas when I was younger, it would have really upset me. So yeah, it's kind of sad in a way how toughened and like hardened we get to it, because we shouldn't have to, but we do get like that.
Yeah, I wonder how. So I was not doom scrolling. What's the opposite of doom scrolling? Like I was just going through Gwen Stefani's Instagram page the other day, and next thing I know, I've been doing it for like 2 hours, and I'm like, I gotta stop this. And like she's in her like she's 53, and she looks like she's 25.
I know, it's insane.
Insane.
Yeah.
And going back to like having to go through shit. Like I couldn't find anything online about anything specific that she'd gone through or any like shitty interviews that she'd had. So it would have been interesting to see like how she dealt with that outside of putting it into music.
Yeah. I think I've seen a couple of things where someone's asked her like, what's it like being so beautiful, blah blah blah, and she does fire back. I don't know, but they were quite old interviews, sort of like 90s, 2000s, whereas I don't know what she would say now. But yeah, I think she did get it a lot, and she did always fire back. So that was quite cool to see. But yeah, she's just, it's ridiculous. It's like she's Benjamin Button, but not. Yeah.
Yeah, it was honestly insane. And I was watching, I didn't realize that was it this year? She played BST in Hyde Park.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did I miss that?
I
I would have
know.
loved to have seen that.
I would have loved to have gone. I still haven't seen them or her live, which is just heartbreaking. Because I would just die to do that.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, where's my question? Yeah, so you've not seen them, and they've got a history of splitting up and getting back together for certain one-off shows. And obviously Gwen Stefani's got all her solo stuff. Had you ever looked into going to see either incarnation, or is it just something that's just never like materialized?
Yeah, I have looked into it, and then it's either been like I've not been around while she's in the UK, or yeah, it's just like always happened that way, which is really annoying. But if they ever do another tour, I will be the first in line to try and get tickets, because I just, obviously I will never be able to experience No Doubt in the 90s or the 2000s, but I would still love to be able to see them now, because I think even though obviously they're not exactly the same as they once were, it's still so fucking cool to see them that much older with families and, you know, completely different lives now. And they're still just as good, and still going for it just as much as they were.
Yeah. So going back to their music, of their 5 studio albums, I'm assuming your favorite record is Tragic Kingdom.
I think it is, yeah. I would say it's close between Tragic Kingdom and Rocksteady.
Okay.
I do love Rocksteady a lot. But I think because of like my childhood and like watching the Tragic Kingdom live DVD, it just kind of has that element of like nostalgia to it.
Yeah.
But Rocksteady, I think for me as well, is another favorite. It's like a tied for first, because that was when I kind of noticed that there was almost like a bit of sexuality being brought into the music. And when I discovered that album, I was like very like prudish and you know, young and naive. And it was like, again, it was like, oh, okay, she's sort of wearing different clothes and allowing us to see more of a sexual side of her, but it's still really badass and cool. And I had so much respect for her for it. And yeah, I think she's a great role model in that sense, where it's like, you can be whatever you want. You can be boyish, you can be girlish, you can be sexy, you can be covered up. It's whatever you want to be, so long as you're in control of it. I think that's why I love her so much, because she's always been just in control of her own power and her own sense of self.
Yeah, it's about having the choice at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So if you had to, obviously besides the tied for first, if you had to number your favorite No Doubt records in order from 1 to 6, how would you order them?
I would say, well, we'll put Tragic Kingdom at the top, then Rocksteady. Then I would say probably Return of Saturn.
Okay.
I think it's a bit more edgy and it's a bit weirder. But the song like Ex-Girlfriend, I thought that was so cool. And the whole like visuals behind that album were very like 2000s and just like, yeah, I love that vibe. And then after that, I would have to say probably Push and Shove.
Good record.
It was really good. Yeah,
I enjoyed that one.
People like gave it a bit of shit, but I thought it was really cool. I really liked that album. And then probably self-titled. I do like the album, not my favorite, obviously. But it's, you know, it's still got a couple of bangers on there. And then have I missed any?
There's the Beacon Street collection. I don't that's
yeah, that's like loads of their B-sides. It's still good, but it's not one that I've listened to massively. So yeah, that would be my order, I think.
Hell yeah, I like it. Yeah, when I was I mean, obviously I was listening to a lot of No Doubt last week, and because Push and Shove was their most recent one, and after such a long time, I was also going in with not low expectations, but like expecting it to be totally different from the classics. But I was like really surprised how much I enjoyed that one as well.
Yeah, yeah, because I think that's the thing with their style. It was so of the time that you just didn't know how they would make it work now, but they have pulled it off, I think. It's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. So most people will have heard the singles Just a Girl, Spiderwebs, and Don't Speak. But if you could direct people to some hidden gems, which tracks would you recommend that you think are underrated?
I think, God, my brain's gone tumbleweed brain now.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah. It's always the way though. As soon as I get asked a question, and then I'm like, I don't know any No Doubt song in existence.
Like, I swear I'm a fan. Name 3 songs right now.
Yeah. Okay, let me think. Hella Good is obviously a well-known single. It's not really a hidden gem. But I think Hella Good is a really important one to listen to, because that was one that, like I was saying, it suddenly became like a sexuality, kind of like very powerful, strong, sexualized woman, but like in a really powerful way, not in a vulnerable way.
In an intimidating way. That's what I like.
Yeah. So I think Hella Good would be a great one. And then Underneath It All, I think, is a good one for sort of the opposite side of things. Gwen has been through a lot when it comes to relationships, and she was with Tony in the band for I think about 7 or 11 years. It was a long time. And then she got married and cheated on and all that shit stuff. And I think Underneath It All was a really beautiful song to kind of just show a different side of her.
Yeah. That was 2. Do you have any more?
Oh shit, have I got one more? I can't count. I would say is it Happy People? I'm trying to remember what it's called. Yeah, Different People, I would say, is a hidden gem as well. That's off Tragic Kingdom, but it's got kind of like a almost like a bit of a theatre-esque vibe to it. It's quite like almost a bit musically and theatrically, but I think her lyrics became a lot better from Tragic Kingdom onwards. And yeah, it was just this song is just about, you know, how we're all different but we're all the same, you know, we're all the human race. And yeah, I think that's a fun one, but it's got a deeper meaning. And it's just got a hook that gets stuck in your head. So yeah, I would say Different People, Underneath It All, and Hella Good.
Oh yeah. So are you aware of any quirky facts about the band? Like, do you know the origin of the band name?
Yeah, so that came from Gwen's brother. So he used to be the keyboardist, I think, in the band when they first started. And then No Doubt was his favorite saying. Apparently, he would say it over and over again. So that's how they got the band name. But I'm not sure if I know any other like weird quirks or anything. Did you find anything when you were like having a proper?
No, and like it was really bugging me because I like really random quirky facts that aren't usually out there like in the usual interviews or like biographies of bands.
Yeah.
It really annoyed me because I was like,
No, I think what's kind of cool about them that is unique is that when they first started, it was almost like a family band. So it was like Gwen, her brother, her brother's friends, and she wasn't always like the only singer. They did have another singer with them. He was called John Spence, I think that was his name. But sadly, he took his own life, and that kind of would either make or break the band as a group of friends and musicians, and they decided to keep going in his memory. And I think a lot of people won't have a clue about that. So the band started from a very personal, when they decided to keep going, that came from a heartbreaking personal place. So they weren't just always a girl fronting a rock band. It was a lot bigger than that, and they all had this shared pain and trauma and loss, and just decided to keep going. So I think that's quite incredible. That's something that I don't imagine a lot of people will know, because they became so huge, and obviously Gwen became such a big face of the band. A lot of that gets forgotten about.
there's a prehistory to the history, really.
Yeah.
My next question for you is, are you a fan of merchandise?
Yes.
Have you ever had any No Doubt merch besides albums?
I have a No Doubt Tragic Kingdom t-shirt that I have worn so much that I was wearing it on our tour when we supported In Flames nearly every day, that it got to the point where I had to like make a conscious decision to stop wearing it, otherwise it would look like the photos were all coming from the same day, which is so grotty and rank. Like, change your clothes, woman.
I feel like that's a constant issue with people on tour, though. Like, I know other people who just wear the same shit on tour, and I'm like, you're literally going out and sweating every night and living on the road. Pack properly.
I know. Well, luckily my stage clothes have like their own like bag in my bag, so they stay away. They keep all their sweatiness separate from the rest of the clothes. But yeah, I was wearing that way too much. I need to find it, actually. It's disappeared. But yeah, I have that. And then I saw the other day Primark were doing No Doubt t-shirts, but I didn't buy one because I felt weird about it. But at the same time, I really regret not buying it.
When was that? Maybe they still have them. You should totally go back and get one.
I need to go have a look. I can't remember when it was, maybe a month or two ago.
I feel like Primark band merch, which is not a sentence I ever thought I would say. Primark band merch can either be really hit or miss.
Yes.
Like, it's either like, and as well, like, so when it comes to band merch, I love male cut band shirts and designs as opposed to like specifically female designed band shirts.
I just can't bear that.
Cut the sleeves off. But I feel like Primark, usually when they do band merch or any type of branded merchandise, they get the balance perfect. Sometimes, like, it'll be like a washed out or tie-dye type band shirt, and I'm like, that's what I want for my band merch. What did the one you saw look like?
So it was a boxy white t-shirt that was quite baggy, but I think it was like one of those cropped ones that's quite big.
Oh yeah. Like short but wide.
Yes.
Like me.
And me. Yeah, it's my jam. I do like it. I don't know why I didn't get it. I was probably in a rush or something, but yeah, I regret that now. But yeah, the one I've got, the Tragic Kingdom one, is massive. It's like a triple XL. And I'm the same as you. Like, I can't bear tight fitted, um, like feminine fitting clothes. I don't want to wear a band t-shirt to like show my curves. I want the opposite, to be honest. I want to
Hmm.
wear a band t-shirt to be comfy and baggy. And yeah, that's my jam. That's my jam.
Yeah. As well as like with heavy music, like the reason I like heavy music is because it's like grimy and filthy and dirty and most of the
Yeah.
time not feminine. So
Yes.
if I'm gonna go, say for example, like I mean Iron Maiden don't really do this, but like a Guns N' Roses band shirt, or I used to have an Aerosmith one,
Hmm.
and they were like feminine cut, but the designs on them were like feminine as well. And I'm like, no, I want the one with the skull and fucking flames
Yeah.
on it. Like, why
Yeah.
do I have to have this one? It's got pink on it. I don't want that.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. That's it's like when you go in shoe shops and you go in the women's section and they're all pink shoes and it's just like, but I like the ones the men have.
Yeah. It's like I want the same design, but just like a nicer cut, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, smaller or bigger or whatever. Yeah, no, I get that. So are Guns N' Roses and Aerosmith like your favorite
No,
bands?
so mine's Guns N' Roses and Hailstorm. It
Oh, amazing.
used to be Guns N' Roses. They were like the band that changed my childhood.
Mm,
However, Hailstorm, I feel like have a lot more meaning to me now. Like Guns N'
yeah,
Roses meant a lot to me when I was like an angsty teen growing up.
yeah.
And now that like I've become who I am, like Hailstorm have a lot more meaning to me.
Yeah.
I actually met Lizzie Hale twice this year and I've like
Oh, how
fangirled
was
so hard. She was
it?
so lovely. And then
Oh,
I met her at the for the second time at the Heavy Music Awards.
yeah.
And I was in this like black, low cut, meshy ball gown. And she called me gorgeous. And the whole night I was like, everyone thinks I'm gorgeous.
You were like, nobody can speak to me.
Yep.
Oh, that's so cool. It's so nice when your heroes turn out to be really lovely people. Just makes
Yeah.
everything.
Maybe
Oh,
we can
that's really.
get maybe we can get Gwen Stefani down to a Vex show.
I would die. I would die. I would shit myself. I would die.
Can you imagine her covering a Vex song? If you think, right, let's go through it. If Gwen Stefani were to cover a Vex song, what do you think? Which song do you think would suit her the best?
Oh God. I think, well, I couldn't ask her to do screams, so we'll just have to pretend that she's like not doing screams and she's singing
Maybe
it all
just
in.
like rough vocals,
Yeah.
bit of
Probably one
grit.
of our earliest songs, like Dominate. I think she'd do well in Dominate because that's all about like you know, not giving a fuck about what other people think about you being a woman in the scene. So I think that would be quite fitting.
Yeah,
And yeah, I'd love to see her do that. Oh,
she's
I would, yeah, I'd die.
can make it happen. Gwen Stefani and Vexed crossover. So no doubt their fans are called no doubters.
Mm.
With that creativity in mind, what could you call Vexed fans?
Well, we call them the Vexed Gang, which they called themselves that. They kind of created this name, and so we've run with it. For ages, we were calling them the Vexed Fam, like the Vexed family. And then they decided that it's the Vexed Gang and the Vexed Gang members. But I am not promoting gang crime at
The
all.
Vexed gang
Um,
members.
yeah.
That's too. That's for a start. That's too wordy.
I know, I know. I like so Vexed Gang is what they call themselves. But if I could come up with like a cooler name for them, I think it's Vexies. But that's a bit, I don't know, that's not great.
Or maybe
Um
just the Vexed or the Vexed ones.
yeah, yeah, that sounds really ominous.
That's what we like. Let's go with that.
Yeah. the Vexed ones.
It sounds something like witchy, like that. Sounds like a coven.
Oh yeah,
That's cool. So yeah, going back to earlier, they've not released any new music since 2012's Push and Shove. How would you feel if they were to regroup and release more new music now? Bear in mind there was such a huge gap between, when was it, 2001 and 2012. So it would be another huge leap from 2012 to now.
Yeah.
How would you feel if they were to release new music now, and what do you think it would sound like?
I'd be really excited. I think anything that they do or bring to the table, I'm excited to hear it. But I think it would probably be similar to Push and Shove. I could hope and dream that it would be similar to like Rocksteady or Tragic Kingdom, but I think, you know, people forget, and like fans forget, that when you mature and grow, so does the music. So you can't expect people to sound like they do on their first album in their 7th or 8th. So I think it would probably be similar to Push and Shove, which is cool. Like, I loved that album. But I would really hope that they bring I don't know, maybe a slightly heavier sound. And I don't mean like Gwen's going to start doing death metal, but like
I totally reckon she could, though. Like, I feel like, yeah, this is what I mean. If she put her mind to it and throat to it, she could do it.
Yeah, exactly. And Tom, their guitarist, he's like a really big metal fan. Like,
okay,
before he was in No Doubt, he was in metal bands. So No Doubt for him was quite different.
So what you're saying is your way to Gwen Stefani is through Tom.
You can start like taking notes.
Right, we'll get Tom down to a Vex show.
Yeah.
We'll hook him up with VIP. And then we'll be like, do you know who you should bring with you next time?
Yeah.
The queen herself.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how we do it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think if he kind of brought more of his heavier elements into it, still keeping it No Doubty and like bit of ska, bit of reggae, but yeah, a bit more heavier guitars and more aggressive vocals from Gwen, that would be so cool. But we can only dream. I can only dream.
Never say never.
Yeah.
So I have one more quick question for you. Have you ever thought about vexifying a No Doubt song? I think if you tore Just a Girl Apart, sped it up, threw some riffs and pinch harmonics in there, and incorporated some like double kick drum, I reckon that would sound sick as fuck.
I would love to do that. And not gonna lie, I have spoken to the boys about it a couple of times. So it is something we had thought about, and it would have to be Just a Girl. I can't think of another song that it would be. So yeah, I would love to do that. Like, we were talking the other day about if we were to do a covers band, who would we be? And even the boys were like, oh, we'd be No Doubt straight away.
No doubt.
Yeah, No Doubt. So like, I'm bringing them over to the side, like they're coming over to it. And I think it'd be so sick to metal up Just a Girl or a No Doubt song. So yeah, it's definitely not off the table. I think if I can just sort of keep dropping it in conversations, you know what would go really good in the set just here is a No Doubt cover. It might happen.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's easy to say, I guess, as a metal band that you want to cover a non-metal song, but genuinely, like, because you couldn't just cover it for what it is. Like, you would absolutely have to make it your own, and I do feel like that is one of their songs that would and could work so well. And it's one of those like, if you started playing it, people would be like, what is this? I recognize this, but I can't like quite pinpoint it.
Yeah.
And then you'd kick into the chorus and then everyone would know it. And then there'd be like a breakdown at the end. And you'll be like, I never knew that's what this song was missing.
It's honestly like legitimately something that we've been talking about. And like, back when we were writing Negative Energy and the whole like anti-fetish and trying to like find a loop of just a girl to play in the background. Like that song has always been there. It's always been like an anchor for me. And so yeah, I think it's definitely something we want to look into. It's just I just got to convince the boys a little bit more.
Yeah, that's right. Tell them that Jazmin, who they have no idea who she is, says that they should do it.
Yeah.
So we got to do it, guys. Jazmin said so.
Said we've got to do it.
Yeah, cool. That's everything I had for you. Is there anything else or any other anecdotes that we've not spoken about that you might want to mention that meant something to you?
I suppose the only thing which is really cringe, but I'll bring it up, is when I was little, I was so badly bullied. And one of the reasons why I was bullied was for my looks. Like, people always used to call me ugly and blah blah blah. Like, teenagers and kids are just the worst.
Yeah.
And then one day I decided to bleach my hair because I didn't like the way I looked. I was being picked on. And the day I bleached my hair, somebody called me the deathcore Gwen Stefani. And I remember crying in my bedroom, just being like, I'm so happy. Because I'd spent years of my life just being picked on for the way I looked. And I suddenly felt, I don't know, seen. I don't know. I would never ever claim to look anything like Gwen Stefani because she's just astronomically beautiful. But as a teenage girl, when you've been picked on your whole life, that was the best thing anybody could have ever said to me. So yeah, like Gwen has no idea who I am. I'm not in her consciousness whatsoever. But what she did for me as a kid, I'm like forever grateful for.
Yeah. When they called you the deathcore Gwen Stefani, was that like did they try and say that in a negative way or was it in a positive way?
It was a positive way for once, which was really cool. Yeah.
Because have you ever had someone try and insult you, but in actual fact, you're like, no, that's amazing. Like, yeah. I remember one of my ex-boyfriends when I was like 13 called me a heavy metal headbanging bitch. And I was like, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm
tattooed. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the problem with that?
Yeah, no, I have had that before, especially when people try and say that I'm really masculine, or they'll be like, oh, she just sounds like, I think somebody called me, she sounds like she's trying to be a young Corey Taylor, and I was like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's amazing what people deem as an insult sometimes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And also like there are worse things to be compared to, so like,
oh my god, I know
Corey Taylor, I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for having this chat with me. I hope you had a fun time as well. And also, again, from woman to woman in the metal industry, thank you for like the music that you put out, and it's been amazing to learn like where that's come from and like what's influenced you to create the music that you do. So thank you for that.
No, thank you for wanting to talk to me, and yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to I'm Your Biggest Fan. If you enjoyed what you heard, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, send it to your nan in the post. Every little helps. You can follow us everywhere at biggestfan_pod. Follow me everywhere at Wrathchild_jazz. Noizze at Noizze UK on everything. Noizze Podcast Network at Noizze Podcast Network on everything. And Satanic Tico at Satanic Tico and at Pitch Black Nor. If you have a band member in mind that you think would be perfect for this podcast, perfect for this topic of conversation, or maybe you are the band member and you're the super fan, drop us a comment, drop us an email. All other info can be found below in the description. And thanks again for listening. We'll catch you soon.